Right, we are joined by Johnny from Pet Needs. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. This is take two because take one I was in the car because we were late picking up a van. So thank you so much for being accommodating and letting us do this an hour later, mate.
That's fine. Yeah, it was a strange one. Bit a passenger in a car on the A12. I'm sure there's weirder places interviews have taken place.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. But yes, I'm here now. I'm here in my usual place, which is my spare room, which is where all of our songs get written and all our interviews are done, and we pack up all our merch. So I'm back in my happy place again. So yeah, hopefully we can hear each other now.
So you're back in Pet Needs Central then, for all your merch, all the songwriting. That's the hub.
That's it, man. Well, it's kind of, especially with album two that's coming out soon. It was in the middle of lockdown that we were writing it, so it's all in a battered up acoustic guitar in this tiny little room.
Yeah, album two, Prime Entertainment, out on Friday. It's a big one.
Yeah, that's it. It's a big one, and it's so weird because Simon, at this time, it's kind of you're really excited for people to hear it, but you also get that kind of like little bit of nerves because you've put so much into, and especially into this album, actually, put so much of honesty and like about kind of like myself and my perceptions and a bit about my childhood and stuff. And it's the first time that been so open on a record. But more than anything, I'm just excited for people to hear it now. It's time.
Yeah. Also, you said earlier that you recorded this last November, so it's
Yeah.
11 months since you finished recording. Like, yeah, we want to get it out now. Let's just do this.
That's it. Sitting on something for that long, like we got picked up by Extra Mile Recordings last year, but before that, we were just kind of self-releasing singles. So we'd record something, we'd get it mixed, and we'd probably release it about 3 days later because I was so eager for people to hear it. But yeah, sitting on something for that long, and it's almost like kind of like pulling back an elastic band on a slingshot or something like that. It feels like it's pulled back further and further and further and further, and I'm feeling that tension. I just want to let it go now and release it out into the world.
Well, we've only got a few more days, and then it's there. We've also obviously had like a couple of singles so far. We've had Get Off the
Sure.
Roof, Fear the Whole Damn World as well.
Mm.
Loving the gang vocals. You love a good gang vocal.
Oh, well, we're a big fan of Rancid as well. Like, I love, like, they're one of our favorite bands. Like, me and my brother traveled all the way to Belgium to watch them play and Out Come the Wolves in its entirety a couple of years ago, which was amazing. But yeah, I love a good gang vocal. And I think if you have gang vocals in tunes, it's almost a little bit of a subtle sign to the audience about when the kind of sing-alongs are meant to happen as well.
The cue sheet, which people are going to
That's it.
have to know because you're coming to Southampton twice towards the end of this year. We've got
Yes.
you. We've got you supporting our well, just we love him, Frank Turner, at the Guildhall,
Nice.
and then also you're going to be playing the Joiners on the 12th of December as well. So just in time for a little Christmas party.
Yeah, there we go. I'm so excited. And the Southampton one with Frank at the Guildhall, that is the last show of the
Yes,
tour as well, which is always a massive party. I think that one's sold out now. There might
it
be a
has.
couple of tickets left. It has sold out,
Yeah, it
yeah.
has
And
sold
then
out.
we just announced the joiners today as well. So, like, I'd say everyone, please go get tickets. We played the joiners back in February, I think it was, and it's one of those venues that you always hear about because it's just a legendary venue. It always wins kind of like the small venue of the year award and things. And it absolutely lived up to expectations when we went down there. Like the people running it are absolutely amazing. And the sound is brilliant. And the crowds in Southampton always seem to be amazing. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. And I've never played the Guildhall before either. So I'm excited to see that venue as well.
Yeah, I mean the Guildhall is a lot bigger than the Joiners, but there is something special about the Joiners. The soul of the Joiners is just music. Like every
Yeah.
vein of that venue is just music, and yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, you can feel it. You can absolutely feel it as soon as you get into that room. Yeah, it's amazing. I cannot wait to return. It's going to be so cool.
And obviously, so I somehow I always talk about Frank in all of my interviews because I generally love him, and we've had him on the show countless times. So we will be seeing
Nice.
you at his show. But obviously,
Sweet.
you've just come off of the 50 states in 50 days with him, and also
Yeah,
he
man.
produced the album.
Yes, yeah. So I am just about recovering from America now. I think I've been home, I think about 4 weeks. But yeah, doing that tour was incredible and exhausting and amazing. It was every emotion that you can ever feel, really. We were driving ourselves for the whole tour, and we were selling our own merch, and we were sorting out our own digs and stuff. So it was super intense, but we had experiences that we never thought we'd ever experience as well. I mean, the American crowds are incredible, and we kind of like got to drive through Yellowstone National Park and saw like wild bison and stuff. And yeah, it was just like this. I could speak for 2 hours on how America was, because there was so much of it, and the fact that we were out there for 2 months. But it was amazing, and we're definitely looking to return at some point. But having Frank produce the album as well, he's just such a pro. And he was with us kind of right from conception of the songs, really. Like when we first wrote the album and we had what we thought was the bones of the album, we went into a kind of basically our friend's bar. He closed the bar down for the night, and we went there with Frank. And Frank kind of sat there as some kind of like punk rock Simon Cowell with a notebook as we went through the whole album, playing it to him. And then we started exchanging notes on kind of like arrangement and stuff. And it's still a little bit bizarre for us, because we were and still are like massive fans of Frank's work, kind of like you as well, like of his songwriting, his performance. But now spending time in the studio as well, I'm just in awe of him as a producer as well. It was an incredible experience.
How did it come about though for him producing? Was it because of signing to Extra Mile? Was that put across as a suggestion, or did you like approach him? Like, because I know he's only just recently started producing. So how does like you go? Yeah, we'll take him.
So he came to a show in London before lockdown. We were playing Camden Rocks Festival, and he was playing at the same time as well. And he was just kind of walking around checking out bands, and he checked us out, which was like awesome in itself. And we like exchanged email addresses and kind of kept in touch for a couple of weeks. Then it died down. And then halfway through lockdown, I had an email drop in my inbox that just had the title Essex in it, which is where I live. And it transpired that he was moving to Essex and he didn't know anyone there. And he just wanted to kind of reach out and make a few friends in the area. And one of the things he was asking, and this was about our first album, Fractured Party Music, he was like, what have you been doing over lockdown? And we were like, oh, well, we've just been recording an album. And he said, that's really interesting, because I've been getting into producing and mixing and mastering. And one thing led to another, and he ended up mixing and mastering the first album. And he did such a brilliant job that we were just kind of like chomping at the bit to actually get in the studio with him and do a whole album from day one with him. So it wasn't even a question, really. We didn't even, when we were talking with the label, we didn't even discuss anyone else, really. It was just like, yeah, we need to go with Frank. We need to do a full album with him.
That's amazing. And it's such like a sort of like natural story how it's happened as well. It is kind of has come about almost through a passion of music, because he came, saw you, and then it's just built from there, which is most organic way ever, I think.
That's it. And I find I get weird retrospective anxiety about kind of nature of chaos things. Like if we hadn't done one tiny little thing, then kind of it's like a domino effect. I think about this about meeting my wife, who like I met my wife in a club in Norwich about 13 years ago.
You better get that
and
right.
I always think, yeah, that's the one, 13 years ago. And I always think if I hadn't gone to that club at that night and I'd have met her, I wouldn't be living in Colchester now, and I wouldn't be like, and it's like your whole life can change on tiny little decisions. And if he'd just walked past that bar on that day and not come in to see us, then I'd still be working full time at the university I used to work at. My brother would still be a music teacher. We wouldn't have toured America, and like we wouldn't be releasing our second album on Extra Mile Recording. So it's so strange, kind of tiny little moments in life can just lead to huge things, and it's been like life changing.
Yeah, I love the butterfly effect. I think about that way too much as well.
Yeah, it's terrifying, right?
Yeah, like, that's why I hate saying no to opportunities. I'm like, but if I say no, what could have that led to? Or like, what if I did something different that day? You could just go down a rabbit hole of spiraling.
100%. And that's it. Life's a holiday, right? And you've just got to embrace every opportunity. I think you've also got to, what I'm learning as I'm getting a bit older is you've got to have that self-care as well and have that time to be small and be quiet and introspective. And if you want to kind of like yourself away for a day, that's cool. But then also just when you're feeling able and when you're feeling ready, just run outside and grab those opportunities as well. Because you never know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. So obviously, Prime Entertainment, like I said, out on Friday. You said Rancid are a big inspiration. Who else kind of has inspired the songwriter behind this album? Who was kind of one of the people or one of the artists that you were listening to that kind of made you go, actually, I do want to be a bit more open, a bit more personal with this record?
Sure. I think I was listening to a lot of a guy that's actually featuring on the record as well. A guy called Micah Schnabel, who's he's an American songwriter. If anyone listens to any song, I'd say go listen to the song "The Interview" as a first way into his music. His stuff's just so lyrical and so personal, and it's just incredible how kind of like open and honest he is. I think it's amazing. And I don't know if I'd say that I've never kind of like listened to someone and gone, I want to write like that. But I was listening to a lot of him at the time whilst I was writing the album. Then suddenly, even though our sound is sonically different, I did start writing things that were a little bit more kind of like personal and kind of like inward looking, as well as kind of the social commentary stuff. So I'd say that he's a really, really big inspiration. I really like Mike Skinner in the Streets as well. And Mike Skinner is actually really influenced by country music as well, which I find I didn't know until I was listening to an interview. And he said that one thing that he tries to do, which I can't remember the singer now, one of his favorite country singers anyway, never said, I feel this. So he kind of like basically, like when he did the song like Dry Your Eyes, which is really, really old song now, he conveyed so much emotion whilst not speaking about how he felt at all. He'd just be like, oh, I'm looking down and like playing with the beer mat and she's touching her hair and looking away and stuff. And you can tell, you can feel the emotion so strong. But he never says it. He just like paints a picture through imagery. And then you as the listener are kind of like projecting onto it. I kind of tried to take quite a bit of that into the new album as well. So yeah, and like influences from all over. And then musically, we're influenced by bands like kind of anything from like Against Me to Rancid with the big backing vocals to things like Biffy Clyro with the breakdowns and stuff. So yeah, they come from everywhere, man.
Yeah, I also love that. I love the fact with music that it does come from everywhere, and that some people like, no, we're very, this is our area, and this is all we'll kind of listen to, and this is what I'll do. But I love the fact that it's just mixture of everything, because I think that's what helps music keep progressing, because you go, well, we'll take a little bit of country, we'll take a little bit of indie, we'll take a little bit of punk, and we'll put it in this pot and see what happens. Because I think you mentioned Biffy. I mean, they are one of the biggest rock bands in the world, but there's so many different influences in there, and like there's like mathcore and stuff in some of their riffs. It's amazing what they kind of get away with as like almost pop artists in a way.
That's it, and that's like there's a Frank Zappa quote that says like, without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. And I think that we can't and I think back in the day, the punk scene, I mean, we're talking kind of like at the 70s, 80s and stuff now, was very rigid. Like if you had a guitar solo or something like that, you were kind of like immediately out and stuff. And I think it became more open-minded and more kind of merged with loads of different things as we came through the 90s. You had grunge and then like kind of like hip hop and stuff. And it kind of now I think, especially with and this is one of the good things about like streaming and Spotify and stuff, is that people have access to so much music that people don't have to go, right, I am a goth or I am a punk or like I'm into garage or something, and then just buy those records. Like you can literally have access to so much music. And I think that genres are becoming less and less important, and just good songs are becoming more important, which is amazing, which is fantastic. So you can go out now on festival bills and you can have genres from all over, and people really getting into so many different things. Like one of my favorite artists at the moment, which if you'd asked me kind of 20 years ago when I was like a 10-year-old little punk kid, like if I'd be listening to kind of pop music, I suppose, and even calling it punk, um, I wouldn't have believed you because I only listened to kind of like the Ramones and Dead Kennedys and stuff like that. But I'm really into a band called Self Esteem at the moment, who's kind of a pop artist, but lyrically is actually talking about kind of lyrics again, influences. I think she's one of my biggest influences at the moment lyrically, and I think like for me, she had the lyric of 2021. Like is I think opening lines are really really important, and she's got a line to her song that just says sexting you at the mental health talk seems counterproductive. And again, that just says such a big story in such a small, and I think opening lines are so important.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's influence from everywhere, man.
That's amazing. I love self-esteem as well.
Yes, so cool, so cool.
So obviously you're supporting Frank Turner at the Guildhall, and so I want to know, what is the best opening act you've ever seen at a show? Because I always advocate for people to go along and see the support acts, because you always notice that the crowd's always half full. But I've seen so many amazing acts that have then gone on to headline festivals, but they started off as a support act. So who is the best one you've seen supporting someone?
I think I would have to say K Tempest opened for Scroobius Pip. I saw Scroobius Pip play, and then K Tempest was the support artist. They are just incredible and so passionate and so lyrical, and they've got such an amazing delivery. And when I used to live in Norwich, I saw them play maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 times in front of like maybe kind of between 15 and 50 people every single time. And now they're kind of like winning massive prizes and like taking over the world. Another one of my favorite acts that I played with, a support act in America, were a band called AJJ, who we were sharing a dressing room with. And I've never become starstruck after seeing an act. It was really weird because we were sharing a dressing room and I didn't really know who they were. And I was like, oh, hey guys, you're all right. And it's like that kind of like polite but slight awkward. We're sharing a dressing room. We don't really know each other. How you doing? My name's Johnny. And they seem really nice, really sweet guys. And then I saw them play. And afterwards, they came back into our dressing room. And then I was starstruck because they were so incredible. I was like, well, that was amazing. And they were it just felt so vulnerable, but so raw and so angry. But then finally, I know I've answered this with three different people, I'm aware, but there's a guy called Paul Henshaw, but he goes by the name Henshaw, that opened for us at a show in Cambridgeshire the other day, and he was so good and blew us away so much that like on the spot we offered him to come out and support us in Germany, and he's coming to do 4 dates in Germany with us now. Just he was amazing, and I learned just from that one show so much about how to communicate with an audience and put people at ease. And like, yeah, he was incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. See, I know, I love that, because I always advocate for this, because like I said, so many people just don't show up. And my one story that I have is I saw London Grammar supporting Tom Adele, but they only had 5 songs.
Nice.
They just came out.
No way.
Yeah, they came out. They did 5 songs. Went, yeah, that's all we have. Metal and Dust will be out very soon. You can get it as a free download off our website.
Yeah. That's so cool.
But that's
so cool. That's it. And it's so important. It is so important. But I've seen bands as well, like that. Like I've seen local bands. There's a big band that have had like #1 albums and stuff. Now I probably won't name the big band because I'm going to name the small band that absolutely wiped the floor with them. But there was a band that I saw at Colchester Arts Centre, which we're playing soon. It's just around the corner from here, and it was the big famous band came through, and they were great. But then there's a band called Rad Pit, who are like a post-hardcore band from Colchester, who just came on. By far the smaller band, like maybe about like 10 of us had bought tickets to see them, and then the rest of the people were there like packing out the room for this bigger band, and they just were incredible, just absolutely exploded on the stage. And that was amazing. And it might be that they become the biggest band in the world in the next few years. It might be that they stay a local Colchester act, but seeing a band that makes you feel like that just fills you with so much excitement. And it's so important to get down and see people, you know? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to leave you to it because it's getting late now. But thank you so much for your time. Obviously, the album is out on Friday, and if people do like the sound of it and they haven't got a ticket for the Guildhall show to see Frank with you supporting, they need to get a ticket for the Joiners show because that's going to be the only way to see you
100%.
in Southampton.